Hello, this is the Tradesight U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview for Thursday, the 11th of August, 2016, and Friday, the 12th of August, 2016. Hope you have a good trading week. So we do these previews on Wednesday evening for both Thursday and Friday, especially in the summer, because Fridays tend to be just sort of the wrap-up to the week, nothing really new after everything else we've discussed along the way to consider. So here's a look at the ES front month futures contract. This is the daily chart of the S&P 500, which is the broad market, the true way to look at the market. Obviously very narrow here the last 2-3 weeks, not very exciting looking. Everybody's saying how much of this is the election, how much of this is just a pause in the market after a nice run-up. You know, it's probably a little of everything. Obviously the Brexit vote shook off. We're back to highs after that 2-day plunge and bounce. So I would say that right now the market's just kind of sitting. This is summer doldrums. Usually this is somewhere around the next month or so, the time of year where we start to get a move. One way or the other, it is the time of year, obviously, where things tend to head down ahead of the federal budget. And obviously last August we had that. Let's take a quick look at last August. If I slide it back, you can look at the plunge that occurred over 4 or 5 days in August. But of course, bottomed out, then double bottomed in October, as the market often does, and then went right back up. So who knows? Are we going to get something quite that dramatic this year again? It doesn't appear that Congress is fighting over the budget this year, as they often do. Maybe because it's an election year, I'm not sure. So maybe we won't get that kind of dip. At any rate, let's go through the major indices and see what happened today. Crude oil down 25 cents to 41.45. Mid-range for the last 6 months, obviously down for the last 2 years. Gold up $5.90. S&P -6. The cash indices, NDX, NASDAQ 100 is down 12. Remember, we need another closing high here to get a secret 13 sell signal. That would be a point towards the market rolling over if that happens. Excuse me. Stocks up down 6. Pretty much just a blip there. Biotech's down 61. That's a little bit bigger number. We cracked the 10-day moving average for the first time since early July. So just that's kind of a key maybe there. So another sign maybe towards the top-ish, at least short term, that NDX sell signal, if we got a new push to highs, would probably do it. Doesn't mean we have to fall apart, just means, time for a pullback. VIX up 39 cents to 12.05. Remember, I talked about the fact that that super low reading on the VIX, 11.10, I think we got down to the other day. Last time that happened was August of last year, right before the little plunge. So another sign maybe of potential for a pullback in the markets. But again, I wouldn't shift my portfolio around completely over it yet. The trend 1.30, that's a high reading, so now the 10-day moving average is at 1.04. Remember, it's when the 10-day gets under 0.85 that we have trouble, so that's probably not going to happen with that reading in there now. NASDAQ volume, really boring so far this week. Very lightest volume week of the summer so far at 1.5 billion shares, so that's part of why we're just not moving. Advanced decline ratio -959. That means there are 959 more stocks down than up today on the NASDAQ. Advanced decline ratio on the New York -329. So it's kind of a middling number. Google up $1. There is a 13 sell signal on Google. We got that yesterday. So there's plenty of room up to the risk line. It's over 820. There's some room that it could still head up, but generally speaking, there's an exhaustion signal in place there. Apple stalled out right, look at that, perfect, right at that green static trend line, almost the penny. I mean, that's just amazing to see. Down 81 cents here on Wednesday. Amazon up 25 cents, no big deal. Netflix down 6 cents. That's a blip on that one. All right, let's take a look at the intraday action. And again, let's take a look. Let's slide back so you can see this was the far left side is Friday. We had gapped up, we pushed higher, and then look how flat we went. Monday, a slight gap up, and then flat. Look how that range from Friday into Monday, horrible. I mean, we spent most of those 2 days in like a 5-point range on the S&P. That's just a waste of time. Tuesday, we gapped up, pushed higher, came back, filled the gap, and closed about where we opened. And then Wednesday, we tiny gap up, came down early, dropped a little bit over lunch. Total range for the day, only about 12 points on the S&P, which is way under what we normally see, and came back up late to close at the VWAP. What do we have left in the week that we get to pay attention to? Well, there's more data to come in the last 2 days than we had so far. Thursday, we've got the initial and continuing jobless claims number. That's the weekly number. That's an hour before the bell. Same time, we've got import-export prices, not a big deal. An hour into the stock market at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, we've got natty gas inventories. That's the weekly number. Friday, PPI and retail sales an hour before the bell. Michigan sentiment 30 minutes in, along with business inventories. And that is that. So we will be back for next week's preview at some point over the weekend. We'll be trading it the next 2 days in the lab. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal. Have a great rest of your trading week.